This is The Growl with your host, William.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the
This episode of The Growl, from the graveyard of regret to the crossroads of forgiveness. What does that mean? I have discovered in my life that there are two types of people that I know. There are those that knew me back when I was a pretty hellish and rotten individual. And there are people that know me after my awakening, and they didn't know me back then. So I thought I would really give an introduction. Maybe somebody doubts the wisdom of the things I say and wisdom in my perception. And maybe you don't believe me, think I'm full of shit. Who knows, right? Ultimately, what people think of me is none of my business anyway. So I started my life pretty dramatically, I guess. I was adopted at 13 months. I found out years later, with records being opened, I was actually taken away for neglect. And for those first 13 months of my life, I had very, very little human contact. Obviously, I'm here, so I was fed, and I was changed, I hope, regularly. But beyond that was it. I was pretty much left to my own means. My mom actually told me once, when I was really, really young, she always thought that she was a really poor mother because she would pick me up, and I'd start screaming. She'd put me down in the crib, and I was just quiet, and I was good. She also told me that there were times that the old house we lived in southern Colorado, my bedroom was upstairs, and my mom would tell me that they would find me. I took my nightlight, grabbed a blanket, pillow, then I'd go down the stairs, and I would find a place where I could crawl under something near an outlet, or I would kind of block myself in a corner, and I'd have the nightlight, nearby, and that they'd find me sleeping the next morning. So, and I have no idea why, right? I did those things. Moving forward, some abuse has occurred as a child by a stranger, and then for a number of years by a cousin. And over the years, I can only imagine what she was going through. I was also probably well advanced and probably overdeveloped for my age. The stranger was a one-time thing. Since, then I have, I've moved on from that. It was a little more intense. She taught me, I guess you could say, how to be a very good porn star. That was from the age of 8 to 11. So a lot of anger, a lot of isolation, a lot of just, very passive aggressive, very manipulative. Some, I mean, I know a lot of people, they throw this word around. Um, and sometimes I think that they throw it around too easily, where they don't even really know what it means. Um, but I would say you could probably back then, you could have classed me as narcissistic or borderline anyway. A lot of child psychologists, a lot of child psychiatry, some inpatient. I was a little hellion. I was a little troublemaker. Um, Theft, uh, robbing homes, whatnot. Uh, Mostly theft when I was young. But then it's about the age of 12. I want to say 12, 13. I discovered that I could go into liquor stores because I looked old enough. And boy, I tell you what, I found a mistress. I found a mistress. And I found an escape. And man, years and years and years. So I find this. I become more violent, more distant, more angry. Again, I ended up going into juvenile hall in Colorado. It was Mount View Detention Center. I don't know if it's still there. I know they have Lookout Mountain Detention Center, but it was Mount View Detention Center. And I was from the age of 16 to 18. Got my GED there. My records were sealed when I got released. And joined the Navy, did my stint with them, got back. I did get married before I went into the service, and I treated my first wife very, very poorly. Was not by any means a good husband. So we got divorced, and then I ended up having my daughter out of wedlock. Her mother was a rebound. She had some issues of her own. Don't need to go into those. And we did not part well. And my daughter tried to make her way through her youth. I believe Lori had her own struggles, but I don't think she was a bad mother. I was a terrible father. I was either drunk, and after, I've had several DUIs throughout my lifetime, that I was either drunk and, of course, license suspended, so I had no vehicle and couldn't get to go and do things with my daughter, watch her grow up. I mean, there was a time, I got married again, and there was a time that there was some stability there. However, my second wife did not treat my daughter well, but I think a lot of that was her anger at me because I did not treat her well. Again, mistress, bottle, addiction, alcohol, angry, very violent and angry world my heart was in and twisted by. So, all throughout, and then, of course, child support, and then times when, when I could afford it, in computers, doing the network engineering thing, the money that I paid in child support wasn't bad. However, being drunk and just a rat bastard all around. So I'd lose one job, move to another, lose another job, move to another, lose another job, move to another. So I ended up working, minimum wage, tire tech or this and that. And in between DUIs, I was on work release. So I'd serve a year here and a year there. Probably served a total of 5 years off and on throughout my DUI serial killer. Excuse me. I have a lung thing going on right now. What was it? God, I even wrote a short story. My last DUI while I was serving in work release. That's right. A portrait of an ignorant serial killer. Driving on the streets, no regard for anybody's life or my own. And So again, so my daughter grew up without a father. Okay. So, um, I'm sure you can see now this graveyard of regret, it's building and it's growing, and there are two more tombstones added to it. So, my fifth DUI, I was pretty much kind of a dry drunk. I didn't, I knew I couldn't drink, but it didn't change my behaviors. And a lot of times I was upset because I couldn't, right? I mean, that's being a dry drunk. And so then years down the road, it was about, I want to say, about 10 years? I want to say 9 or 10. Finally, I have my sixth DUI. That is my awakening. And I'll have a beer or shot every now and then at a social event from there. But usually on the majority, if people really want to sit down and they want to start drinking with me, I usually tell them, it's like, look, we need at least 10 grand. We need at least 2 months. And we're going to need to find new jobs and new places to live, because that's just the way I drink. If you put a bottle in front of me and we get going, it's like I'm going to keep going. I literally have to force myself to stop. And that's part of my addiction, part of my behavior. That's just part of who I am. So I haven't, over these last number of years, partaked a lot. I moved out here to Kentucky, and I really actually haven't at all. Just haven't had a reason to. But it's that awakening that I had on that sixth DUI. I honestly believe it was based on the dream I had, and I'll tell you to the day I die. I honestly believe, excuse me, that was the day I met the Mother of God, and she saved my life. I have had struggle since then. I have been homeless since then. I have had to go through a couple of jobs since then. And it has been a struggle, but it's been sober. So there's a difference. And it's been solitary. I forced myself out of the game. I knew that through all those years, I had this perverse view of what love was. And a lot of that really just, boiled down to sex. And most of my relationships were sex and fighting. And that's what we did. The last major relationship I had, this woman who we had spoken after the fact. She did end up meeting somebody. The last we really spoke was after she had informed me that her daughter had committed suicide last year. And we spoke for maybe a month after that. And then, and I understand why. She had to, cut ties, cut everything. Her daughter was really our last connection to one another, and a life that was gone. Ghosts, right? Graveyard of memories, graveyard of regrets. So I go through, and with what I've learned, I've had people that have approached me, hence the growling guru, and they have praised me on my God, you're really, really smart about this, or you have this wisdom about this, and that's just amazing. And it's like, well, I've just how I've learned it and gained my wisdom is through the destruction of others' lives, through the destruction of my own, and taking as many people as I could with me, and mistakes and failures, and being probably the worst father on the face of the planet. That's how it feels. My daughter, not without her own issues. Beautiful young woman, has an amazing I've got an amazing grandson. She's doing her best in this world based off of how she grew up. And, I could apologize every day till the day I die, and I probably don't think that would be enough. But I love her to death, and she's doing the best she can, and she's doing pretty amazing. It's pretty cool to see. So what I find is when I get these people that I have met after this awakening, after my awakening, and this is where we come to that crossroads, and they find out about my past, They find out about my history. And there are people I've always been where somebody comes up, "Oh, you're a nice man." No, I'm not. I'm an honest man, but I'm not a nice man. And I think they always maybe kind of took that as a joke. They didn't really understand that I was telling them, "No, I'm not a nice man. I have been a criminal. I have been a liar, a cheat, a thief. I have backstabbed. I have stepped over people. I've thrown people under the bus. I have borrowed money and never returned it. I have done dastardly things to other people of our species so I could have a drink, so I could get what I wanted, so I could have what I wanted for that moment." And so there are people that struggle with this that I know now, that they struggle with this. It's kind of like you meet somebody and you're like, "Oh my God, this person is just amazing. Wow, they're really cool." And then blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, wait, you murdered somebody? You spent, 20 years in jail? Why didn't you tell us this to begin with? Why didn't you say anything?" Well, I didn't, that wasn't going on. That's part of my past. The reflection of who I am is what you see. And that wisdom and that knowledge and experience, everything lies in that reflection. And it's the same thing with everyone else. I'll an analogy. Let's say you have a young woman, beautiful young woman, and in college she discovers that there are certain things she can't pay certain bills or tuition or whatever it is. So she does prostitution for, let's say, 2-3 years, right? Get herself through school. And it's not something that she's proud of. It's not something she uses as a trophy. It was something that she did, and she made that choice. So she graduates, and then she becomes very successful, and she meets, a man, later on down the road, and they fall in love, and they decide, okay, they're going to get married. Well, then she decides to give him this information. And he's got one of two choices when he hears it. And I understand that, people may struggle with my choices, my addiction and my destruction, both self and imposed on others. And I understand that struggle's there. But we get back to this woman and this man, and she tells him that, yes, she had to do prostitution to get through college. He has a choice. He can either look at things linearly and hold those years against her, or he can then understand on a deeper level, this is why the reflection of her is what it is. And that wisdom, whether it was painful or not, whether it was hard experience and struggle and failure and bad choices or lack of choices or whatever, that reflection, that who we are is a reflection of every choice, every decision, everything we have ever done, good and bad. And when people see you, I think that's why they say, do you take this person at face value, right? That may be where that comes from. I don't know. I've talked about the beautiful poem of You. I've talked about the truth. And these are things that, when it comes down to it, this crossroads of forgiveness. Every relationship has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I've also talked of stories, that people are like stories in our lives. Some are Cliff's Notes. Some will be there as novelettes. Some will be great American novels, whether it's friendship or love or, family. I mean, I know my mom and dad, it's a great American novel. And that story will not end until one of them leaves this planet. Sorry. This is going unedited, so you'll just have to deal with that. Again, lung thing. So I've had a very solitary journey for the last several years. And I may continue to have a solitary journey. The love of my life maybe waiting for me on just the other side of this life. I may meet her tomorrow. I may have met her, and we will just bump into each other again. I have no idea. I have a tribe out there, and I know they're out there. I know. I know they are. And I have grown weary of friends that continue to break my heart because for some reason they get a new piece of information about my past and then they can't get it. They are angry and they struggle and they have to say goodbye and they have to leave. And then who knows? It's months down the road, all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, how are you? Could you?" And I understand. I understand the struggle. I understand the struggle. I get it, but it does wear a person down. It does. And eventually you get to a point where it's like, okay, what is important? And what is important is looking forward. And what is important is knowing that, yes, you know what, if I can reconcile, if I can apologize, if I can find forgiveness in the mistakes that I've made, and I can give the people that I've hurt, if I can give them that apology and they can find forgiveness so we can both let go, that would be awesome. And there are people out there I know that I've hurt that probably don't even think about me. There's not a day that goes by that they have thought about me in years because they were strong enough to forgive me back then, and then they moved on and they moved forward. And then so this crossroads, and I think this really is probably the point of this episode, is understanding that there are going to be moments in your life when the only person there to forgive you is yourself. And you will not find resolution. You will not have that last conversation. That person is gone, and I'm not saying they've died, but I'm just saying that person is gone. They're on their path. They're living their life. And why would you years later pick up the phone and then try to call them and, oh, hey, this is me, this, that, and this, realizing that as you're speaking to them, they don't even remember who you are. So this crossroads, to be able to really truly move forward, you're going to have to learn that there are times when you are the only one who will forgive you. And I think a lot of people don't think that's possible. And I think a lot of people, they don't believe in that. They believe that someone else has to do it. And no, they don't, because forgiveness is letting go. Forgiveness is releasing that mistake. Forgiveness is releasing that choice, that hurt, that pain back into the universe, back into your past, and leaving it behind you. And it's taking a little piece of that burden off of you. And it's hard to get out of that graveyard of regret. It is. It is, because we're either beating ourselves up and we are creating our own ghosts, that we are not good enough, that we failed, that we did this, we hurt this person, we did that, these bad choices, and we hold on to those. And we hold on to them like rocks, and we drag them everywhere. And you're not going to find forgiveness from somebody that doesn't remember or doesn't care. So you get to that crossroads and you find you got to let go of that regret. And if you are the only one that will forgive you, then that's what you got to do. But you got to keep moving forward. Got to keep moving forward. You cannot sit, and I have for many, many years, sat in that graveyard. And, you know, I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose friends. There are people that will discover my past. And for whatever struggle, for whatever pain it brings them, they will have to walk away. And that is okay. That is their truth. And that is what they have to deal with. So I am not a nice man. I am an honest man. And my past, I am not going to bring it up freely. That is a part of my poem that is held deeply. You really want to know? You're going to have to get through those first several pages. And does that make me cold-hearted? Does that make me distant? No. It just simply makes me that if you truly want to know who I am, you'll be willing to go to those depths. Even if that struggle, and even if what you face there, you don't like.
The dreams that only came to pass them by. Here's to the broken man who stood and walked when he heard you can't. 'Cause it shows me that faith is more than sight. Here's to the wandering child looking for a star to guide, pushing through the darkness of the night. Hold your hand up to your heart and know it's just a chance to start. I know that it might feel like it's too hard. Time to watch, grab a hand and make this day our march. Pulling down the walls we cross, fighting through the wars we lost, looking for the day when we have won. Doesn't see. Someday we could all be free. We could change the world if we would just believe. 'Cause faith and love is all you need. This whole world doesn't see. Someday we could all be free. Yeah, we could change